Hole 1 at Cedar Hills is a par 3, 217-foot hole, but it can be quite deceiving. Gordon, what's your play here?
The blue graphic shows the gap for hole 1, and whatever you can throw to hit this gap, whether it be a forehand, backhand, thumber, just hit the gap. Ideally, you'll want to land your disc short on the shelf right before the basket. Anything that doesn't make contact early will probably end up at the bottom of the hill.
Heading into hole 2 is a par 3, 316-foot hole. My play here is I'm going to go with a simple hyzer with my G-Line FD. What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, that FD is a good choice. This hole lines up well for the right-hand backhand shot. The common mistake is letting the dog leg left design of the hole cause you to choose a disc that's just too overstable. My approach to this hole is to throw a neutral putter or mid that will exhibit late fade.
Now we're heading into hole 3, which is a par 3, 261-foot hole. Gordon, for me, looking at this one's a little bit tough because of the elevation. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, hole 3 is a definite uphill tunnel shot where just hitting the initial gap isn't enough. I like to go with a neutral mid-range, something I know will continue straight during its flight. Ideally, if you can beat the last tree on the right side of the fairway, you're looking pretty good.
Moving on over to hole 4, which is a par 3, 208 feet, which is definitely one of my favorite holes because it's forehand friendly.
Yeah, hole 4 has that wow factor. Throw a clean flex forehand or a buttery backhand turnover and you'll get that wow reaction from your card mates. It's one of those holes where it's really fun to see the disc fly.
Hole 5 is whenever you start really seeing the elevation. It's 304 feet and it's a par 3. What are you throwing off the tee?
That's a good question. As a true MA2 player, hole 5 is the first hole where I have to make a decision on how aggressive I want to be. With the elevation and distance, the birdie is a bit of a reach without making a circle 2 putt. So in a casual round, I'm probably going to go driver and see if I can reach it. But in tournament play, I'm probably going to go with a mid-range or a slower fairway to play for par.
We're moving right along to hole 6, which is a par 3, 243 feet. Gordon, what's the miss here?
So after hole 5, you'll want to be back in attack mode on hole 6. I think the good miss is hyzering out left side. I think the mistake to avoid is getting off the fairway to the right side. Either way, hit the main gap to make scoring easier on yourself.
Hole 7 at Cedar Hills is a 250-foot par 3. Don't choke up too much or else you're going to end up in the drink. As someone who hasn't played the course too much, Whit, what's your take on this hole?
I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit nervous. I'm not trying to lose a disc, so you want to keep it flat and just pump it out there.
All right. And as someone who's played this course quite often, Gordon, what you got for us?
And to add to that, and a little asterisk, not only played the course a lot, but I've lost a lot of discs in there. I think my number one mistake and my number one tip is don't choose too much disc just to try to carry the water. It's 250 feet. If there wasn't any water there and it was all grass, you'd probably be comfortable throwing a putter or mid-range. So keep with that on this hole.
Let's see how 3DA throws this hole.
Looking good, guys. Now let's do hole 8, par 3, 280 feet. And I'm not gonna lie, looking at this hole, I can't tell if I'm gonna do a backhand or a forehand. What's your play?
Yeah, I've seen both the forehand and backhand plays on this hole. Whichever shot you go with, be sure to watch your height. These pines are forgiving if your disc approaches them on the low side, but too high and you'll start bringing in the branches, which will quickly knock you down short.
Hole 9 is definitely one of the more open holes on the course. It's a par 3, 320 feet. Gordon, tell me about the OB here.
Yeah, so hole 9 is the first hole with really risky OB, which is parking lot right and beyond the trees long. Be sure to check the wind here, as I've encountered a headwind quite often. After all the woods holes you've played, hole 9 gives you a chance to really rip on a disc, but make sure you choose the correct disc to match the wind and the correct release angle to avoid the unwanted OB stroke.
Oh man, here we go. Hole 10, which is a downhill tunnel shot, 245 feet and a par 3. Jeff, what you thinking here?
At 245 feet, I think I'm just going to take a nice stable putter or mid-range and throw it straight down the tunnel.
All right, I kind of like hole 11. It's definitely a little deceiving on the distance. It makes you think that you need to pump it out there. Jeff, what's the miss here?
This hole can get real tricky if you accidentally turn your shot over. The miss here is just ending up left. Whatever you do, don't turn the shot over and go OB.
Let's head back into the woods with hole 12, which is downhill, 372 foot par 3.
Hole 12 is 372 feet, but remember, it is downhill, so it plays much less than that. If you can take a nice stable fairway driver, pump it right down the middle, you should be good to go.
Hole 13 is where the elevation strikes again. It's the only par 4 on the course. It's 415 feet. Where are you going with it, Jeff?
You definitely want to get your shot to the top of the hill, or beyond if you can, to give yourself a nice easy upshot into the green.
Hole 14, slightly downhill, par 3, 262 feet. I'm probably going to go forehand here.
Hole 14 has a couple routes you can go with. 1, a forehand or a backhand right up the middle. And 2, there is a hyzer line for the backhand.
Hole 15 is another one of those downhill tunnel shots. You end up off the fairway, it's going to be rough.
Hole 15 is one of my favorites on the course. I like to take a nice stable putter and throw it right down the fairway. Be careful if you come off the fairway early, because you're going to have a tough time scrambling to get your par.
Hole 16, one of my top holes here. And the reason why I say that is because it definitely pushes my flex forehand. Jeff, what's the miss here?
If I'm going to mess up on hole 16, I'm hoping my disc lands towards the bottom of the hill. There's a lot less trees in the way, and the footing is much better.
Hole 17 might only be 210 feet, but it's uphill and it feels a whole lot farther.
That is correct. Hole 17, the name of the game is just getting through your gap. You get through that gap and you should be set up pretty good. Don't get out of the gap and you're going to have a tough scramble ahead of you.
Here we are on the last hole, hole 18, which is a par 3, 380 feet, and it's a pretty wide open gap to the basket.
That's right. It is 380, slightly uphill, but it is pretty open. Take something that you're familiar with and just rip it straight ahead, and you should be good to go.
Don't choke up too much, or else you're going to end up in the drink. Or else you're going to end up in the drink. Or else you're going to end up in the drink.